Hi everyone, welcome back to the London Football Show. We've had 4 games so far, and obviously international break, so we thought perfect time to round up the start to everyone's season. Starting off with James, West Ham, obviously the standout team amongst our 3 teams. So yeah, James, summarize West Ham, your first games. Obviously, bit of frustration during the summer from some fans, obviously taking long to spend the Rice money, but I think West Ham they've been very clever with their recruitment, not rushing into just spending money willy nilly. So yeah, your thoughts on like the
Well,
sub?
I want to go. I want to go back before we sold Declan Rice because I think the club needs to take credit and the board needs to take credit for hanging out for Arsenal to eventually pay the money. Because they could have crumbled and let him go for like 70 or 80 million, but they held out, they stuck to it, and they got the right money for it. But even before that, we all knew he was going pretty much after the conference win, the Europa Conference, because obviously West Ham are Europa champions at the moment. I don't know if you're aware of that, but there was a bit of rumbles with like David Moyes, even like saying people wanted him to go, despite the fact that he's won a European trophy. Well, let's have a little look at what they've done in the last month or two. Declan Rice is gone, and we got the money we wanted, and a little bit more, so 105 million. Perfect. Yes, we were. I wouldn't say we were slow. I think we were just calculated on who we wanted. There was a lot of sort of rumbles allegedly in the with like Mark Noble and then the new border, like the new guy who came in for all the transfers. But there's been no rumbles. They've been working closely together. David Moyes is fully on board with what's gone on. Then we had like the case of a couple of coaches left, like Warburton and Nevin. They left, and it was all a bit. Oh, it weren't falling apart. If you're a West Ham fan and you're a true West Ham fan, you got to trust it. You just got to stick with it. And my word, if you were like that, and if anyone was saying Moyes has to go during the summer, oh, we're gonna be struggling because we haven't bought anyone yet. What are they saying now? They've bought well, they've spent the money wisely. Moyes has done a good job. He's even shown that he can have possession and still win like we did against Luton. We had more passes in the Luton game than we had in the first 3 games we had together by about 2 passes, I think. We had more possession. We can play that way. But Moyes sets it up. He's not silly. People forget he's got a lot of experience, and he's bedding in these players that are coming from for good money, good sort of expectations on them, and we're doing well. So you take the start of the season, and Jared Bowen summed it up when he was interviewed for Sky after the Luton game. He summed it up by saying, "We're kind of disappointed with getting a point at Bournemouth. If we'd won that opening game at Bournemouth, which a few people fancied us, we would have won all 4. And that would have been like amazing. Like Chelsea, we played Chelsea. Yeah, Chelsea will come good. I've said that all along, even with like their recent defeat against Forest. When you watch Chelsea, when I watch them live, you can see what they can do and what they can achieve. It's just not clicking for them at the moment. But you've got Sterling. How he's not made it to the England squad, I do not know. I think that's just absolutely ridiculous. And if we have time to talk about England, we might need a whole new podcast on that. So I think Southgate, for the first time, has let the fans down by picking certain players that can't even get in the starting 11, let alone on the bench. But there we go. But West Ham, great win against Chelsea. Then biggest result at the weekend, the last weekend for me, people will think he's going to say, "Oh, going to Luton, their first home game, beating them on a Friday night." No, the biggest result for us at the weekend was Brighton beating Newcastle, because that shows how good that result was for West Ham to finally beat Brighton at their place, or to finally beat them in the Premier League, but to beat them convincingly. Not many teams are going to go to Brighton, let alone get a point, let alone win, but get a point, they're going to struggle. And that proved with Newcastle, with Brighton beating Newcastle convincingly. So I think West Ham set it up. I think we've done it well, and I think we have ball. I will get James Ward-Prowse. I think he's been amazing, outstanding. If he can stay fit and continue playing, there's always that option. I think we've got a couple of players. The young lad we got from Ajax, who we got just before the deadline. He looked quite good when we come on. But what we've got a strength now, and good call for David Moyes, and I credit him for this, changing the goal with him, telling Fabianski that he weren't going to be the number one and put Ola in big, the saves he's made. against the likes of Chelsea, Brighton. Amazing. So if you're a West Ham fan and you look at it now, they're singing, they're dancing. We've sang it 2 or 3 times already in the 4 weeks of the top of the league. That sums it up. But let's not forget what some fans were saying during the summer. Yeah, I hope they're sort of willing to stand up now and stop this nonsense and get fully behind the team and see where we can go. I'm not going to get silly. I think we've got a chance to finish top 8 now. But once we start the Europa League, because I don't know if you're aware, boys, we won the Europa Conference, so that West Ham are European champions. Yeah, so we've got the Europa League now. Yeah, but yeah, I'm happy, Sion. You don't look happy, are you? Just realizing what you've missed out. Yeah.
I'm listening. I'm listening. I was going to ask. Obviously, after the international break, we'll go into the sort of fixtures in the next podcast. But obviously, is it Man City at home? So you say top 8. If you beat Man City at home, then any higher?
Look, Sion, you're saying it's spot on. If we beat Man City, I'm going top 6. That'd be ridiculous. That would be ridiculous to have beaten Brighton, Chelsea, and City, who all 3 clubs people said will finish in the top 6. So West Ham got to be in the show. The biggest thing for me against Man City in a week's time on that week after the international break is that it's a free hit now. We've done so well to get to where we are. We can go into that game at the London Stadium and not panic, not think, oh, the fans are going to get... We're in a position where we can go all out and see what happens and probably lose 4-0. But anyway, we'll see what happens.
Okay, I'll go next. My club. Poor start to the season from us. The main thing that I'm sort of disappointed about is obviously in pre-season, right? We're playing 4-3-3, and obviously we're playing good football in pre-season. But the main thing is like I thought Poch like 4-3-3. We've got a playing style. It seems like everything's sort of clicking, and then come the Liverpool game, we go back to a back 3, which we didn't play at all throughout pre-season. But I could understand it. Or people telling me like Liverpool, their attack, they've got sort of quick players up front, Salah, Diaz, those sort of players, maybe Jota if he came on. So I could understand it. So I was thinking that's going to be a one-off. But then now, every game so far, we've sort of done this weird thing where we've moved Colwell over to left back and Chilwell's playing left wing now. So that sort of confused me because Chilwell is just not a left winger. He's a defender. So it's just sort of weird formations and stuff like that since we started the season. I thought the purpose of pre-season, you have a playing style and the things that are going well, you take that into the season, and then the things you need improving on, you obviously work on the training ground to try perfect it. But we've taken nothing good from what we've done in pre-season into the real season, which has sort of been what I've been disappointed by the most. Obviously, poor result against Forest. Whether you're in like the first early stages of a process, obviously Poch, new manager, he has the time and everything like that. But losing to Forest is inexcusable. Like West Ham away, fair enough, that can happen to the best of teams. But Forest at home, that's got to be a banker, man. Like there's no excuse to not get 3 points against them. So been a poor start to the season. And obviously West Ham game, when we got it back to 1-1, we did look very good or like creating chances, but once we went 2-1 down, there was just no response after that. It was pretty much game over. Even when West Ham went down to 10 men, it didn't look like we were going to score anyways. So yeah, poor start to the season. And I just know after the international break now, there's no excuses. Obviously, we got Cole Palmer and obviously new signings like that. So I don't expect to be seeing Chilwell left wing anymore. We've got options now. I know Nkunku's injured, but we've got enough players now to be able to go back to a back 4 and like play people in their proper positions now. So hopefully after the international break, team starts playing better and we start getting results now, because we need results now. I know, our fan base is impatient. If we come back and start dropping more points, our fans are quick to turn on managers, probably quicker than any other team in the league. So yeah, we need to improve and fast.
Yeah, I think you've got a real problem now because I think you've got a real problem because before the season started, I thought Poch was the right choice. If he ends up having a season where you don't win anything and possibly don't finish in the top 4, you could be back to square one at the end of the season and have no manager. Who'd you go for then? You can't just like keep going through all these. It's not a conveyor belt of managers. And the bottom line is, it's been a conveyor belt of quality managers. So I don't know where Chelsea will go. And I think in the summer they did really well. They got rid of the excess. They got rid of the players, and I thought that's good. That's what they did. They need to trim down that squad. But then all of a sudden, a few weeks later, they're buying all these players left, right, and centre. I don't get it. And as far as Chilwell, I'm glad you can identify where he's been playing because he's been all over the place. I don't know where he's been playing, what position
He's
he's been
been playing
playing in.
closer to the attack. He's been playing
All
like
I know
left
is,
wing
all I know is,
up front.
he's the vice captain of your squad, and he seems to think because James is out, he's got to play. But where are you playing him? I ain't got a clue. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't understand. I don't this whole left wing thing with Chilwell every game been irritating me. Because in preseason we were playing Colwell, Silva as a back two, and then Chilwell left back. Like preseason we we're playing. Obviously it's preseason, but you see patterns of play where I'm like, okay, this looks good, so I would like us to take this into the season, and then we just abandoned it pretty much from day one against Liverpool. Just abandoned everything that we were doing well in preseason. And I know people are telling me, oh, Nkunku injury and stuff like that. So moving players around. I know Mudryk got injured
Yeah, but the
recently,
problem,
and it's like no,
but Sion,
so
Sion, Sion,
it's no excuse to me.
the problem you've got with Chelsea, you're right, it's no excuse because the problem with Chelsea, if you were a club like West Ham or another club like that and you had them injuries, that's a reasonable
Yeah,
excuse.
yeah,
But Chelsea have bought all these players. Chelsea
yeah.
have bought all these players. You're telling me you can't find someone to play on the
We have
left or right wing other than
yeah,
Chilwell?
we've got
That's
options. Yeah, exactly.
ridiculous.
After spent the money we spent, I know
So
Mudryk
you can't
was
say
available.
injuries. I don't care who's injured in your squad. It don't matter. You've got enough squad to
Yeah, well,
back up
Mudryk.
whoever's injured.
I wanted Mudryk to start against Forest. I don't know why he was on the bench. He was there, and then we bring Cole Palmer and stuff on when we go 1-0 down. I mean, the first thing as well, Forest, it wasn't
How
working.
he thinks he's going to get more football at Chelsea than he would have got at Man City is
It's
beyond
true.
me. It's beyond me.
Yeah,
He could have
but
stayed at Man City and did a Foden and had like 5 Premiership trophies by the time he's 23. You know?
for Forest, the first half of Forest game we were so poor. So I don't know. I wanted changes at halftime. I was saying I was watching the game. I was like, we because I streamed it. So I was like, we're not scoring. So make changes at
Well,
halftime. We wait to go
so,
goal
so.
down. We
Hope
wait to
legally.
go down.
Hope legally.
We wait to go goal down, and then we start bringing on players now. Want chasing the game
Mm.
after 60 minutes when changes should have happened earlier. So you picked the wrong starting 11, and it was took too long to change it. So Forest was an absolute disaster. So um, we're in big trouble if we don't take our time and start improving now. We're going to be in big trouble because we started somehow. We managed to start this season worse than last season somehow. So even
If
though
you want to
that's
finish,
miracle alone.
if you want to finish in the top four in the Premier League, you can only afford to. If you want to finish in the top four, you can only afford to lose about 4 or 5 matches a season. How many have you lost already?
Yeah, we're on two already. So I mean, you need.
Yeah.
I think the average right now you need 70 points, 75 points across the season, obviously. And teams, I know some teams already 10. There's a bunch of teams already on 10 points. What 6 points clear of us, and like all of them like quite consistent. Brighton, obviously, they keep going again year after year. So even teams like that, forget like the Liverpools, Arsenals. It's like the Brightons and stuff like that. They're already trailing. It's going to be a long road back just to try catch up to them. So
Mm.
yeah, top four is a
Right.
long way away for us right now. But Rosanthon, Man United, can start with the Arsenal game or I don't know, Sancho news, Anthony news. That's why I said on and off the field because I was like United. I don't know if there's more problems on or off the field. Obviously, you're better than us, but yeah, you can start off where you want.
Where to start? Like you said, to on and off, complete mess. Um, Center situation. I'll be honest, I don't know what to say. I mean, new season, new saga at this point. Last season was Ronaldo. This season it's Sancho. Who's next? Obviously, I still need more information. I feel like at this point, it's a lot of conspiracy and speculation. It's a lot of he say, she say. We don't know exactly what's going on. We need more information. I refuse to believe that Sancho was dropped purely because he wasn't performing in training. And I think that's it was a terrible lie. I think it was just a get out of jail card from Ten Hag and not a very convincing one. You don't leave someone out for just poor training. And if you did, I'm sure there's plenty of players that should have been left out. I'm not saying I'm not gonna call out any players, but unless you're telling me that all the other players were putting in 10 out of 10 performances in training to be earning the right to the pitch, I highly doubt it. You know, people can have their off days. Doesn't mean that they're entitled or they're removed from the squad. Um, yeah, we're all over the place as well. When I said like, obviously with the whole situation moving on from Greenwood, that's the fans were very reactionary as they should be. The club didn't handle it well, but we won't move on too much about that. In terms of the football we've been playing, horrendous, abysmal. It's not great. I mean, it's Man United, I guess. It's just stress all over again. We're not playing well. 4 games in, 2 wins, 2 defeats. Albeit, yeah, if there's any two teams I could lose to, I wouldn't mind Arsenal and Tottenham, both away. But again, one thing I wanted this season was to improve on our away form, especially against top 10. 1 draw and 9 losses last season, and we started this season with 2 losses. Tottenham, I slandered them. I said they wouldn't even finish top 8 this season, and they're doing better than us. So, my words are coming back to haunt me. Arsenal, again, whether it was offside or not, I still don't think we deserve to win the game. Should we have got a draw? Maybe, but again, we fumbled towards the end. Jesus is gorgeous. Was the final stabbing. The win against Wolves was not convincing at all. Forest was not, I mean, not convincing, but it took us having to go 2-0 down within the first 5 minutes for them to produce a response. Had they not scored that, would that game ended in a goalless draw or a 1-0 defeat as usually as it is? Like I said, there's no positives. I mean, yes, we've had injuries, but I'm not going to blame on injuries. Like Mr. Datson said, we're a big club. We have options, but yet for some reason we don't want to use our options. We don't want to use our backups. Fair enough. With the Shaw situation, our backup Melassi is injured. There's nothing we can do about that. But you're telling me that now that Mount's gone, our next best option is Ericsson. We couldn't go into the market and grab anyone. Højlund, we've signed him up. Was injured for the first 3 games. It didn't really have an impact when he came off the sub. It's just a mess, I'll be honest. I don't really see.
I've got a question. Go, yeah, you go first,
Yeah.
James.
No, I was just going to say, because my point of view, because like you can identify quite easily after 4 games how West Ham are playing and what type of football we're going to play. And against the big teams, it's going to be like let them have the ball and see if we can just defend and go on the counter. And then on lesser teams, we're trying to have a bit of possession. You can see with Chelsea where they're at. They've got a lot of young players. They've bought too many. They haven't really gelled yet. As you've just described it, myself, and my problem with Man United is that over the 4 games, I've not seen I've not seen nothing that shows me I'd go into a game like I wouldn't bet on them because I don't know who's going to turn up. Like not 1 or 2 of their players have like really come at the start of the season where I would expect them to be like Rashford, Fernandes. They've not really, they've not grabbed the game and dominated. And like I'm sorry to say it, and like we nearly ended up with him. But when you end a big game away from home at the Emirates against Arsenal with who was it, Evans
Byron
and
Evans.
Maguire at the back, you're onto a hide into nothing. And that's my biggest thing. Like your goalkeeper, I had high expectations from him. And I don't know whether it's because the people in front of him aren't playing, but he's not been used to his best of ability. I don't think he's had a convincing. He definitely gave away a penalty against Wolves at the end. How that was not given a penalty, I do not know. He's been a bit suspect for 1 or 2 of the Forest goals at the beginning of the Forest game. It's like, and that's what worries me about Man United. And then you've got all this on the side. And I just think, and then you've got one of the best young talents in English football, Sancho, who can't get anywhere near, and his manager's happily saying he's not trained hard enough. I just think it's not the Man United that I'm disappointed because I had very high hopes. I thought the manager was a good manager. I thought he took that club and did well. And I just think you look at the start of the season, 4 games in, I'd expect a lot better from Man United. And I'm not even a fan of Man United. So I feel your pain. Sorry, Sion, I interrupted you. You had a question.
No, it's all right. In fact, my point, I'm glad you mentioned Sancho because I was going to ask for Zamford. Obviously, there's sort of news like around Anthony, potential might be suspended until like further investigation. I won't go into that, but I'm saying if Sancho, we come after the international break, and because your 2 main right wingers are Sancho and Anthony, so if come the international break, let's say first 3-4 games, he doesn't play. What is that the end of Sancho then at Man United? Is that it? Because
I think for me personally, I hate to say it, but I think the only way Sancho can improve if he leaves the squad. I mean, he's had 2 seasons, let's be honest.
do you see any way back for him, or you think it's
No.
over?
I generally don't. I mean, I think about players like Nunes, Gakpo. We were slandering them in the beginning. Remember, people had high expectations. And then they started to actually, adapt to the league. And they actually started to perform now. Gakpo started showing it last season, but look at what Nunes was producing against Newcastle. Came off the bench, scored twice within 13 minutes. And there's going to be more of that. I know it is. I'm scared. That was my biggest worry, that these players that Liverpool was signing were eventually going to evolve and become the players that they were initially signed for. Because you've got to remember, Salah's getting old now. He's going to eventually with the Saudi talks, either this season or next season, I think he's gone. And these players, these next
Yeah.
generation are going to take over.
Yeah.
We have no future. Chelsea have a future, at least for the next 10 years. I think they have one of the brightest futures. City, they've got the money, they've got the clout, they've got the awareness. I mean, Champions League winners, treble winners. They've already got somewhat of a young team anyways, Foden, Harden. They're set up. I don't see no future. I don't see no light at the end of the tunnel.
If you, we're starting from again, you're spot on, because if you actually looked at the history of Man United and compared like their dominant for like 10, 15 years to the last 10 years, it's a complete fall. It's a complete sort of, and you can't blame it just on one person, i.e. Alex Ferguson. You can't, yes, it's hard to replace. Hard to replace. And I've said it many times. I think they didn't give David Moyes the credit or the time he needed. But I just think overall, and I just think it's a real shame. I agree with you with Sancho. I think his time's had for Man United. I think he'd go in the January window. It wouldn't surprise me if he went to Liverpool in January if they do get rid of Salah before tomorrow. I think the deadline for their Saudi Arabia deadline transfers tomorrow. But it's frustrating. It's frustrating. I think for Man United have been overtaken not just on the football pitch but in the world of football by teams like City and all that now. I just think it's a real shame for the club and the history of the club. But if it gives West Ham 4 points or maybe 6 points a season, I'll take it.
You know what? Just so last thing before we move on with the Sancho thing, I want to talk about the statement he put out, because for me that undermines the manager. I don't think as a player you should do that. I know.
Hang on. Work it out. Why did he bring the statement out? Why did he say? Why did he bring the statement out?
Ten Hag said what he said after the interview.
Because Ten Hag said, and then Sancho was basically saying like, "Oh, don't believe," basically calling Ten Hag a liar. Basically, that's what he's trying to imply with that.
Shouldn't have said that in the public domain.
But I'm
he
saying
brought it to the public's attention.
But with that, right, I'm saying with Sancho, like, where is he trying to go with this? Because, like, if you want obviously a future with Man United, no player's bigger than the club, right? United, they have to side with Ten Hag on this, because if Ten Hag's saying he's not training well, maybe Sancho thinks he's training well, but the manager,
Sion, you know how football works, right? You know where he's going for it. It's for himself. And as the Sampson's rightly said, he's doing it because he's now put himself in the window to January.
But what I'm saying with this, so like any future club, right? They're seeing like someone come out with this. Like, why would any club want to sign that? That's just problematic. Obviously,
no. I don't think
he's up for himself.
I don't think a club would worry about having Sancho there and thinking about his attitude and how bad he was to bad enough
it's not first manager with Dortmund, obviously City. Like City in the past, but obviously he was he's a youngster back then, fair enough, you're immature as a player, still growing up and stuff. He's had it at Dortmund, 3 clubs now, to be honest. Man United.
Would you cast him? I know you boys will know this. I know you boys will know this person, but not many of our other listeners of your age may remember him. But would you class Sancho then as someone like Ravel Morrison?
Well, I won't say to that extent, but like he is slowly going down that road. So if you don't take his time, isn't it? He's taking his time. So I don't know. I worry about.
We had and I will say this. I had the privilege of watching Ravel Morrison.
Oh, he was so gifted. What a player.
Mm-hmm. Different level. Like I see him at training at West Ham. I've seen him play games. But again, like you're I think you're hinting at, and you're just hinting it's an opinion. It's not a fact that you're concerned about Sancho's like attitude towards, say, his manager and how he handles things. Like he could have handled that differently. I do agree with you. He didn't have to make a statement. He could have just proved his point by being at training and getting back in the team, and maybe his time would come and he'd get a shot in the team. But I think it's purely done because he's a frustrated youngster. How old is Eva Sanfam?
I believe he's 22, 23.
Yeah. So he wants to play football. He's frustrated, and I think he sort of acted in the heat of the moment and put a statement out because he felt that he had been training. He felt he'd been training hard. He felt he'd been working hard. And he did say in his thing there was that's not the reason. There is other things or something along those lines.
James, can you hear us? Just froze. Froze on my screen.
It's frozen.
Okay, I'll go. What's it? Obviously, Ten Hag, obviously, was it last season? I think Sancho, did he go abroad, like training independently, or did he go Holland or something like that?
But they
So
don't
obviously,
really specifics,
Ten
but
Hag last season,
you
right?
want to know
So
how
last
it
season,
is, basically.
so yeah, last season, he like when he was asked about Sancho, he like tried to sort of protect him and say like, no, he's on his own sort of training program and stuff like that. He didn't say like what was going on, but maybe Ten Hag's had enough because now he's basically just come out and
I think
what
Sanchez had
what
enough
people
of
now will
Ten
try and
Hag
say is the truth.
because I feel like something's definitely going on behind the scenes that we're not aware of, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like they can't. It's not just a one-off.
No,
It
no,
has
this
been an
is
accumulation.
definitely
This must have been building up for Sancho to come out. It's not like on first altercation. Okay, let me just. Then you would call
yeah.
Sancho childish or petty or immature. But this isn't something you just bring overnight. This is clearly something
No.
that's building up and only being made aware now. Because in my opinion, when I saw that lineup and I saw the fact that we only had Pellistri and Garnacho up front in the bench in terms of forwards, I knew the game was long gone. No fan can tell me that we was expected to win that game or at least have any game-changing subs. We had Højlund on the bench, who's not proven. Garnacho, fair enough, is a good youngster. Was explosive when he came on. Should have scored it just if he was a few inches onside. But other than that, Pellistri is still young. He might want to move on. How's he going to compete with if we're still including Sancho, Garnacho, Rashford, Anthony, all these wingers still in the club? How can Pellistri expect to compete? He can't. He'll do what Elanga done and move to another club. And I know Elanga's still yet to sign, but scored a goal against Chelsea and won in the game.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what I wanted to ask. So what you think Sancho now is with that statement now? Like there's the relationship's broken down now, isn't it?
It's not just a relationship. I just think
Ten Hag.
there's conflict now. I think it's very hard. It's rare. I mean, with the history of United, look at Beckham with Sir Alex Ferguson. Who else do we have? I think
Joaquin.
Sebastian Varane. All these players, as soon as there's an altercation, fight, or something break
Man,
down,
yeah.
they left.
Yeah.
All left.
Even look like other clubs, obviously recently, like obviously Cancelo and Pep. See you later. That's it. Loan to Bayern, and I think what is he gone Barca now? So no player. Like I know Pep, you can't you talk Pep, Klopp, like these managers, you can't say anything back, otherwise you're out the door. You're out the door. So yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. Well, I asked about Sancho, but yeah, the last thing, I just wanted to see if, well, obviously Datsun, I think he might join back, but if anyone has any changes or potential changes to preseason predictions, because for me the one team Liverpool, I put them fourth, and I think Liverpool, I think I probably reassess that now and probably put them third, maybe second. If Liverpool sign a centre back, I'll put them second, but the character they showed at St James's Park with 10 men, I think that's the most impressive result I've seen from anyone this season, considering the circumstances. An hour at St James's Park, or more than an hour, because Van Dijk got sent off. I think it was like 27th minute, something like that. So yeah, 1-0 down for me. Newcastle, one of the most hostile grounds in the league, toughest away games. To come back from 1-0 down there, obviously you're gonna have to ride your luck at some point. So you're not gonna be able to have control over a game with 10 men. But obviously that the save from Alisson for me was the turning point. What a save from the shot. And yeah, if he doesn't save that and it goes 2-0, then I think it potentially game over. But obviously for them to come back and win that game, I think massive, huge 3 points. The spirit they showed, very commendable. So I think Liverpool, I think, yeah, they've sorted out them sort of midfield now. They got two midfielders in Endo and Gravenberch. So yeah, I think Liverpool maybe, because I put Man United third and then fourth, I'd probably put Liverpool to third now if I was to like reassess or just change one or two. Maybe second. If Liverpool sign a centre back, I just worry if Konate or Van Dijk get injured, or obviously Van Dijk suspended. You're back to Gomez, Matip, who I know a lot of Liverpool fans saying they need upgrading on now. Matip seen his best days now. So yeah, that's probably the one change I would make if I had to only make one change to my preseason predictions made based on like the top four. Obviously, I put us fifth. Yeah, I don't know about that anymore. But in terms of the top four, I would put Liverpool maybe third, and United, I still won't give up on United yet. Probably United fourth. You guys, you've proven you've done it recently in terms of making top four. So yeah, I'd probably do that if I had to make a change. What about you?
Yeah, I'll definitely change it. I think I'm going to go first Man City, like you said, second Liverpool, third Arsenal, fourth. It's a tough one. I mean, it's between Brighton and Newcastle, in my opinion. I think it's going to be one of them two. I'm taking United out. I mean,
Well, even though Newcastle got 3 points.
they're going to come back. I think they'll come back. I think it's just one of those things where they just needed those starts. I think they'll get through. I mean, even Brighton lost to West Ham, so it's not all bad news. So I think they will definitely come back. United, yeah, I'll be honest. I haven't lost hope, but as a United fan, I always have faith and belief. But as a neutral, from what I can see on paper, at least from a non-belief standpoint, from what I've seen, there's no way I can expect this team to make top four. No way, not with the competition we have in this league. I mean, I know Aston Villa are a bit shaky, but we've still got the likes of Aston Villa, Brighton, Newcastle, Liverpool. These were teams that did not make top four. That will be wanting to compete in top four. And when you look at United, there's no fight, there's no hunger. I'm sorry. You don't go into a transfer window knowing you need a striker. Fair enough, you've got a goalkeeper, maybe another top class defender, knowing Varane's history of injuries, and now that Martinez is now injured as well, so we've got no top class, or at least high ranked centre halves. We're hopeless. We're actually hopeless. I don't see us making higher than 7th at this point, honestly. At this current standpoint, the projection I see of United is 7th. I generally can't see us. I think we're going to rely on our home form a lot, same as last season. Just rely on home form, which isn't going to be great because you saw how we ended up last season with our away form against the top 10, like I said earlier on in the podcast. 1 draw and 9 wins. It's not good enough. Bit of a cheap shot to take at the owners and the board of directors, but I also think there's a problem in the higher ups of United as well. There seems to be an ongoing problem where United seems to be a retirement home for these players. We've seen in the past people like Falcao, Cavani, Schweinsteiger, not Schweinsteiger, sorry, Bastian Schweinsteiger. All these players come to our club towards the end of their career, collect their salaries, and then just move on. I mean, I'm sick of it. I don't understand why we're signing players. Yes, albeit they've been great players, but purely now they've been past their peak. We're signing players, I think, apart from Ronaldo the season before, I think that's the only player, and give or take Cavani and Zlatan. Other than that, all the other players, they just came, did a few bits in the Premier League and then left. Didn't really have no impact for us. And ideally, could we have signed better players? Who knows? Maybe we could have. I just don't understand why we're attracting older players, especially ones that aren't in their primes. The only ones that I'm satisfied with and I'm actually happy with, I'd say at the moment currently in the squad, is only Casemiro. People like Eriksen, I personally wouldn't sign. No value past his prime. I think after his Spurs move to Milan, that was the end of it. Again, with the current signings we made just on deadline day, people like Reguilon, I personally would never take him as well. It seemed like a panic signing. You knew Lassie was injured. Shaw is injury prone. Varane's injury prone as well. Haven't signed no decent centre back. Evans should be nowhere in association with this club. I thought in 2020 we got rid of all the deadwood, but it now seems like we're reversing. This is going backwards now. Just wanted to add that on. And just top four, as at this moment, my projection has gone down 7th at best.
I mean, just quickly before James goes, obviously, that's the one sort of part where I do sympathize with Ten Hag, because like the Mount signing, I know United fans, they were saying like that money should have been spent on a defensive midfielder, and I think Amrabat's a loan deal because they couldn't fork out the money to just pay for him now, and then he obviously wanted Kim Min-jae. I think Kim Min-jae was waiting for a couple of weeks, but then like now Bayern came in and said, no, we'll buy you now. Then he chose Bayern. So I know Ten Hag wanted Kim Min-jae because of obviously the injury prone Varane. Obviously now Martinez, he obviously got injured last season as well. So obviously Martinez got injury. So he did want Kim Min-jae. Johnny Evans is only there because he used to play for Man United. Right? No, there's no way if Johnny Evans was just a random centre back that just got relegated with Leicester with no affiliation, no ties to Man United, they weren't going to bring him back. So they've just brought him back because they know the fans love him. So that's, to me, I can't believe United have done that. But that's typical Glazers. To me, I'm not surprised. And obviously, with sort of Reguilon and obviously Cucurella, I was saying I was hoping they got Cucurella from us. So when I saw Reguilon going there, I was vexed. So yeah, but with my top four to just fill James in, I said I would put Liverpool above Man United because I put Liverpool fourth. I'll keep Arsenal second, but if Liverpool signed another centre back, I would have put them second on mine. So I go Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool, and I'll give Man United the benefit of the doubt for now. Maybe if this continues for the next 2-3 months, then maybe Man United might miss out as well. But yeah, your thoughts? If there's any change you would make to your top four, top six that you initially.
I've been listening to you, boys. I'm happy with my top two because I think I said Man City and Liverpool originally.
You did, yeah.
I put Liverpool two, so I'm happy with that. I'll stick with that. I agree with what you said.
Then you put Man United third and Arsenal fourth, I think.
Yeah. But I would move Arsenal up one, move Man United down one. So I still have Man United in my top four, but I think there's a surprise package that we haven't mentioned too much about. Is that Spurs? I think Spurs, like as much as you want them to win a cup, maybe going out of the League Cup could help them. So they haven't got European football at all, have they?
No.
So the way they're playing, they might add to the squad in January. They could sneak in if they start picking up the results. Like they were very a Spurs team last season, 2 seasons, 3 seasons ago, when they go 1-0 down against Burnley so early on, could have crumbled. But I think so. Spurs would be someone that could get in that top four, but I'm happy to stick with my top four as it is, and maybe just swap. If I had Arsenal fourth, I might put them third and United fourth, but Spurs could creep in. I don't think there's anyone else really. Chelsea have done nothing so far to register even being in the top 6, let alone the top 4. I think Brighton were people's sort of surprise package, but I don't see them. Newcastle, great win against Aston Villa, the first game of the season, but then they lost to Man City, and then who did they? Brighton they lost to. Yeah, so they've lost 2 already, albeit it's City and Brighton, but I think they're going to concentrate too much on the Champions League, and what a draw they've had. What a draw they've had. What nights are going to be at St James's Park. Everyone's second favourite team for fans and atmosphere.
What a group they're in. They're in a group of death as well.
That's what I mean. Yeah, but I would take that as a Newcastle fan, not had Champions League football for years. I'll take that and maybe sneak in second, but I'll take having them 3 teams come to me for this season. My word, what an atmosphere that's going to be. And if they come third, they drop into the Europa League and play West Ham in the final in Ireland. But that's wishful thinking, it, for Newcastle. Obviously, West Ham will be in the final of the Europa League, but that's another story. Might play
West Ham, Liverpool, maybe Liverpool.
Yeah, West Ham, Liverpool. It's in Ireland. I think it's in Dublin. The final. The Europa League finals in Ireland, and the Champions League finals at Wembley, boys.
Yeah. What's it? I was telling Razamfo, and obviously Liverpool. I've sort of been very impressed with them, especially the comeback at St James's Park, because I was saying obviously down to 10 men, 1-0 down at St James's Park. It doesn't really get much tougher than that. Newcastle, that's one of the most hostile away grounds to go to with 11 men, let alone Van Dijk early red card. So I said to Razamfo, that's the most for me. Considering the circumstances, that's the most impressive result I've seen so far this season.
But no, I think top four. I think top four we could have. Maybe I think we all might change one team in the top 4. Eventually,
yeah, Liverpool for me.
Get a top 4, correct? I think that if we have a quick chat, I think you can now on the bottom 3. I think you can call the bottom 3 now.
Luton, Sheffield. But you know what? Razamfon's put a shout in for Everton. Everton look really bad. They look really. Yeah. I said Wolves. It's between Wolves and Everton. They've both been bad. But Wolves.
No, I agree. But I think you could call them. I think you can put them and call the bottom 5. I think you can call the bottom 5 already.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think there'll be teams that I think Forest will do all right. I don't think they've got anything to worry about. I think Crystal Palace. I don't think Crystal Palace has got anything to worry about. West Ham, nothing to worry. You know what I mean? Fulham, nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
I think there's 5 teams that are just battle for the bottom 3 all season. Wolves, Everton, Sheffield United, Burnley, and Luton. And the only surprise package I'm surprised I put in that bottom 5 is Burnley, but.
Yeah, Burnley have disappointed me, to be honest. I expected much more for them so far, but it's still early days. But yeah, I expected do you know what he needs to do? Obviously, Burnley, they got their principles now, possession-based team, but they're way too open. They'll get away with it in the Championship, but they got to be a bit more compact in this league. Obviously, possession-based football is fine, but way too open against Spurs. shipping 5. I thought against Man City they were all right defensively, even though they shipped 3. But the Spurs, I saw the highlights of that game, way too open, and it was too easy for Spurs at times. So company's gonna have to work on that. Otherwise, they're gonna be right amongst it in terms of relegation battle.
I don't know. Well, I didn't have a look at the agenda that you send out, Sin, because I know you spend weeks writing them, but I don't really read them.
No,
we covered everything. Can we just have a quick? Can I pose a quick question to you two boys, because it's been frustrating me, and not just because Ward-Prowse is playing for West Ham, but you could arguably say Bowen had a shout to get in the England squad after his performances, and if it was any other player like a Haaland or Salah who scored that goal at Brighton, they'd be still talking about it. But
what a goal! Yeah, what a finish.
Can you justify putting Maguire, Kelvin Phillips, and Henderson in England?
No, it's nepotism. It's nepotism. That's what Southgate for me. That's what it is.
That's what I like Southgate. Southgate, I think, is a brilliant manager. I like his but he first said he'd pick on form and all that, and you let him off. But this is a new season, and you've got Kelvin Phillips. I don't think he's played as many minutes for City yet. You've got Jordan Henderson, who's out in Saudi Arabia, and you've got Maguire, who's played a few minutes but looks as dodgy as anything. How they get in that England squad, you've had as far as I'm concerned, you've had your England career. Maguire, Henderson, move on. Phillips, I can understand, but there's other players. There's other players that are playing well that should have got a call up.
Well, that's how you know. That's how he's contradicting himself. That's how you know he definitely, most certainly, does not pick this England team on form. He based it off who's done well for him in past tournaments. Because there's no way to trust him. I know my regular listeners.
I know our regular listeners know that, obviously, you two boys. I was in your school with you. I've known you since you were students and all that. And it reminds me of a story. I used to play this lad every week in, week out for the school team who wasn't that good, but I used to play him. I used to pick him all the time. Sorry, you spoiled my joke there, Seal.
Absolutely.
He had good football knowledge. On the way to away games, he used to do good quizzes. You could ask him any question on any footballer, and he had the answer. That was the only reason he got on the minibus.
Go ask the minibus. Listen, don't trust any of our words. Go ask the people we played with, the most reliable people.
We had a good team. We had a good team.
Redbridge Cup in year 8 will never be forgotten.
We had a good team.
Futsal as well. Futsal. Oh, guys, I wish that was recorded because we beat Loxford in the final, and go check who scored that goal to win that futsal tournament. So, what was that? Woodbridge School? Woodbridge, I think it was.
It's good. But anyway, we can reminisce. We can say, but I started many careers of young people in their football ability. But you got on the minibus. That's what you've got to be grateful for.
Guys, listen, don't listen to this. People,
can we say, Leon, we need to also mention that if there's any people that do subscribe and follow us, we need to get some more supporters on, because we've got a few ideas where we want to highlight a game a weekend and have someone's opinion on them. So any football fans, get in touch.
Yeah, as James said, everyone. Is there anything else before we wrap up from anyone?
No.
I agree with Sion on the nepotism part. I think there's absolutely no validation as to having Maguire, Calvin Phillips, who's I don't even think touched the ball or probably made one appearance in the 94th minute. Henderson, as you said, Saudi League. I mean, come on. When you're in that league, that's just retirement. There's no reason to get in. Who else? I'm pretty sure if Mark wasn't injured, Mark would have made it in as well.
100%.
Let's be honest.
100%. Yeah, this is crazy, man.
You
know what, Calvin Phillips, obviously, Scott Carson I can allow because he's a veteran, obviously, but Calvin Phillips, he's got the best job in the world, just collecting trophies for, what's his minutes? I wonder what his minutes per trophy ratio is at Man City. Probably a trophy every 15 minutes for the amount of time he gets on the pitch. Scott Carson's got, 4 Prems now, I think, at Man City. Or is it? Yeah, I don't know how many, but yeah, they got the best jobs in the world, lifting trophies more than.
I think he's got 2 Champions League winners medals. Scott Carson.
Yep, Liverpool and Man City, but yeah, best jobs in the world. They're just collecting trophies.
All right. Okay, right. Sign us out, Sion. Sign us out.
Yeah, but obviously, everyone, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and share. We'll be back with previews for the games just after the international break. So until then, take care.